Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and I'm here today with something new. The first of what will hopefully be many Sunday vlogs here on the channel. A break in the pace, something new for you guys every single week. This was very much a test video, but it actually turned out pretty good. I was really happy with it, and I also had a lot of fun making it. There's a lot I have to learn when it comes to discussion out on the road on my bike, but it was something I definitely wanted to share with you guys, get your feedback and your thoughts on it. So be sure to share that with me down in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.
So I have no idea if this thing is actually going to work right now. This is definitely a 100% test recording, and it may or may not end up on the channel. So if you guys are seeing it, yeah, maybe it'll be a good interesting talk, and maybe everything will be great, and the bike won't be insanely loud, and the mic won't pick it up. There won't be a lot of wind noise and me exhaling, but we'll see. I've gone with a very basic helmet setup for the mic, just kind of shoving it in the padding. It's what I see a lot of people doing with these HD Ghost cameras. Terrible shifts. But they do actually make a really good quality microphone. I know that because I have listened to it, you know, sort of just in a clean, quiet room. And it's worked out pretty well. The question is, once you're out on the road, you have the bike noise, the wind noise. Is it still gonna be as clean? Or clean enough? And that is one crazy buddy! Look at him go! Anyways, let's get to the test vlog. Hopefully it turns out to be a good vlog. We're out here on the bike, on the CBR 929 2000 Honda. That's my ride. I have to say, if I could go back in time, I would not have bought a crotch rocket, as they call them. I would have bought a supermoto. But supermotos weren't really popular at the time. They're still not. Switch lanes. This guy's slowing down. Go figure. They're still actually really hard to find. You basically stumble upon Suzuki DSRs. Nothing against the Suzuki. But if I was going to buy a bike, it'd have to be something I absolutely love, and I don't love the look of that bike one bit. I'm actually a huge fan of the Husqvarnas. Their SM510 is probably the sexiest looking bike I have ever seen, including crotch rocket supermotos, dirt bikes, whatever. That thing is gorgeous. I love Husqvarna, and I was really happy when they came back. So yeah, that didn't end up happening, and I actually almost contemplated selling this bike about 2 years ago for a converted Yamaha supermoto, and the guy didn't want it. He said there was too many miles on this bike, which it's about to hit 26,000. I guess it's a lot, but it's a well-cared bike, at least by me. When I purchased it, it wasn't that well-cared. I mean, the guy didn't, abuse it, but it hadn't had an oil change, and it needed rubber. It was obviously a bike. It obviously had been driven sort of to the bone on a budget. And I'm not saying that I haven't sort of done that, because last year the bike needed a new battery to troubleshoot some electrical issues, and I just couldn't afford it. It was kind of a bad time in the season, so I didn't end up doing it, and the bike sat last year, which is why we didn't do this. I also had a cheaper version of the Ghost. I'm trying to cruise a little bit here. I'm going a bit above the speed limit, which I'm not that concerned about, but it's probably creating a lot of wind noise. That is a good turn, though. This is basically around my neighborhood. We drove down my street. This is kind of, this is where I grew up. My school was back there. Dreaded school. I don't know why I drive past it, because I hate thinking about high school. Thank God that's over. But it's not like, every place that you grow up, you're going to have a lot of good memories in. Anyways, back to what were we talking about? This is kind of just a random BS vlog with maybe a little bit of games discussion at the end. That's also what I'm not sure about. What I'm going to do. I'm thinking video game vlogs while on a motorcycle would be a good time, instead of sitting in my room, which is kind of boring. So we'll see how this all pans out. But not much else to say about the bike. Like I said, the guy who owned it, he took care of it. It's not like it was abused. He definitely lied to me about some things when I bought it. But what are you gonna do? Come on. And one thing that definitely is a little bit worn, I guess would be the nicest way to say it on this bike, is the clutch, the transmission. It's definitely rough. It was rough when I bought it, but I didn't pay that much for the bike, I guess. I ended up getting the guy down to about $3,200. It's probably not worth that much. I think Blue Book value on the bike was $2,800, but you pay more for things just based on location, you know, the person you're buying from, and how bad you want it. And I really wanted a motorcycle at the time, a road bike anyways. I had just gotten my license and I just wanted a bike. I really did. And there wasn't much around, and I really actually kind of fell in love with this bike. And I'll definitely show you guys what it actually looks like in a little bit. We'll pull over. Just kind of deciding where I want to go. Not a lot of curvy roads here, at least not without a lot of driving to get to them. There's just a lot of straightaways, which is really bad if you're someone who can't lay off the throttle. But at least we got a decent amount of farm country, which is nice. You can go out here and you can cruise. Obviously, you should always be focused, but it's nice to know you can expect a lot less chaos when you're in the city. People pulling out, traffic hour. I usually don't care much for that. That's why this is a nice Sunday afternoon. It's the first warm day we've had here. Yeah, pretty much since last summer. So summer's finally here, and that's awesome. No idea if this thing's still recording. Hopefully it is. And I had to get out. Got the bike registered, and we're good to go. But talking about what I guess I want to talk a little bit about what I want to do with the bike. I mean, I've made some small changes. The windscreen is a Puig, or however the hell you pronounce the company's name. A big fan of it. Double bubble, gives you a lot more wind protection than the stock one that was on the bike when I bought it, which also had been painted over because, I don't know, people don't like to see through their windscreen. Not that you tuck into it that often. It's not like I'm a MotoGP racer here, but still, I'd rather have the smoke screen. I can see through it if I need to. And the double bubble adds a lot more protection, especially if you get stuck riding in just harsh conditions. The rain, it actually does make a big difference. The sort of aerodynamics that this creates, this double bubble, I noticed huge improvements as soon as I put the thing on. But the rest of the bike hasn't changed much. The exhaust that is on it is not stock. It is a full Hindle. I did not put it on. It was on the bike when I bought it, so I thought that was kind of a good deal. I think I used it as a selling point. To be honest, I had never even heard of Hindle before that, but I looked them up. They are a reputable company. They do seem to make pretty good exhausts. Other than that, the frame is polished. That's probably the biggest thing I should mention, because the 929, when it launched, it was a 2-year bike, and then they actually ended up coming out the 954, the 945, or whatever it is, a bigger bike. It did not have a polished frame, and this frame was polished by someone. And I imagine it took quite a bit of time. And I'd like to say that as much as I like the polished frame because it looks sexy, it also has cost me a lot of time. I'm a pretty big fiend when it comes to washing my bike. In fact, this one is in desperate need of a scrubbing. And mother's wax all over my frame. Big thing. To get that nice polish on it and just make it shine. And that's a lot of work. If any of you know about waxing polished surfaces, it's basically wax it, get black, clean the rag, do it again, over and over. It's this rinse and repeat process, and you do small pieces at a time. You don't do like the whole bike, the whole frame. You work very small spots, and you can get a nice shine, and then it'll get dirty the next day that you get caught out in the rain. That's what polished anything is all about. But it is a nice looking bike. It does have some damage as well on the right fairing. Been meaning to order new fairings. There is actually a guy on eBay who sells them out of Japan, and they're like fake aftermarket OEM parts. They're not really OEM, but they're kind of OEM. But you can only buy a whole fairing kit, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's not that bad. It's just, you know, it's a lot to drop. But one day I will get that fixed. The bottom fairing as well, basically the undercarriage area, that's kind of all torn up, and it's seen better days. This is a really long straightaway. This is probably the most boring piece of road ever. That's a bit torn up though. That was like that again when I bought the bike. It was obvious that the bike had seen just, you know, a lot of wear and tear. It's a 2000. It's 2015. And the guy who I bought it from actually pulled it out of a garage, so. Anyways, I really don't want to talk about the bike anymore. I mean, we could go on, and I'm not really planning to change my channel all of a sudden into a motorcycle channel. Although if people like this, I'd like to make this the Sunday video, because this is what I like to do on my Sunday. I like to relax. I like to get out on my bike, And it's like the best stress reliever in the world. Some people have drugs and alcohol. Some people do yoga. Some people zen out. I ride a motorcycle. That's my thing. It's actually much more stress relieving than any type of video game that I can play. So this is my thing. Having been riding bikes since I was 5, it's just like an instant bit of nostalgia. There's a lot of, memories connected to it. And then to just get out and cruise and forget about things and sometimes go a little bit fast is nice. As always, safety first. Let's actually talk about games, because there was something I want to talk about regarding Rainbow Six. And I guess it could be wasted in this video, but I think I'll throw an annotation if this video goes live and we'll talk about it. A lot of people really hateful on the Rainbow Six Alpha. Calling it Call of Duty. Oh, this is basically Battlefield, it's basically Call of Duty. This isn't what Rainbow Six that we loved. And I think a lot of them, what they point out is that the game is so much quicker. It just feels faster. And what I have to say is that for a very long time, simulation type shooter experiences have used cheap tricks to try and be hardcore. So what they've done, I can't talk in turn. So what they did was just had really slow animations. A lot of it was just the technology of the times and the ways they developed games, but everything felt sluggish and slow. Vegas was notorious for that. Even the old Rainbow Six games, they just didn't have they didn't have a sprint system. A lot of people freak out about that. Like, dude, you want to not be able to sprint? It's the point. That's what tactics is about sometimes. It's quick and furious, and you're sure of your decision and you go for it. Sometimes you die. It doesn't make Call of Duty. Arma, games like Red Orchestra, they dealt with things like free aim back in the day, which is, dead zone aiming is terrible, Just cheap ways of trying to simulate realism. It doesn't work. It's just all rubbish. So just because the game performs really well and is actually a lot smoother and things just feel better, it doesn't by any means make it Call of Duty. If anything, they've spent more time now at that point, making the simulation part of the experience. Just they put it in different perspectives, It's more about tactics now. It's like, hey, look, this wall can be blown up and all this other stuff. I understand people's concerns about hit markers and things like that. It does seem kind of cheap to, reward somebody for shooting through a wall and then, feeling some hit markers. But as much as you die from that, that's really one that I'm on the fence about as well. It's nice for a player to have instant feedback, and that's what hit markers do. And that kind of just helps situations move quicker. It helps reduce camping at certain times, and it can clean things up. It can clean up an otherwise slow, dull match. That's the weirdest place for a stop sign. I always thought that. And we are good, we are good. This would be a nice corner. It's not like you want to crush it anyways. It's a family living right here, but still a good corner. As long as it's clean. Yeah, there we go. That feels good. That's why you wear riding pants, not jeans, people. You can't move your legs in jeans unless they're real baggy. Or skin tight and filled with spandex. Hello? Cider Mill, awesome place. It's not fall yet though, and I don't want to think about fall just yet. We've got summer to go through. We're gonna go left, we'll swing back down Transit. So yeah, I know there's ifs, ands, and buts there with Rainbow Six. I think one of the biggest things, I need to crack this open, need some air. Blocking everybody's path, I'm sorry. One of the biggest things that people also are kind of worried about is that heartbeat monitor. Which I guess I can understand. People calling it a wall hack seems a bit ridiculous considering you have to be holding it. You have to be looking visually in that direction for it to work. Again, talked about this in one of the videos, it doesn't instantly tag enemies. They don't show up on your friend's radar or on your friend's screen, so you have to personally call that out. It doesn't really seem like a wall hack to me, as much as it kind of works with the way the game functions. So yeah, I completely disagree with people on that one. It doesn't make much sense to me. This is the longest light ever. It's making my mask fog up. My shield, my mask. So, yeah, Rainbow. I'm really excited for it, to be honest, and also a lot of people freaking out about what they saw at E3 not being the same as what's in the alpha. And I think it's kind of absurd if you don't understand how that kind of thing works now. That's why lots of us... Alright, we're going first. That's why lots of us don't like E3. Because E3 is just a place to, have those small sizzle reels going. Obviously, that was all like canned and pre-coordinated gameplay at E3. A lot of people also saying, oh, the match lasted twice as long at E3. Match is over in like 2 seconds. Well, yeah, there's no teamwork. I mean, that's kind of, you know, obvious, I thought. We'll go back down this road. Back down Glidden Street here. Whatever it is. It's bad when you can't remember the streets that you've been driving on all your life. Yeah, so that's how I feel about Rainbow. I'm excited for it. It obviously needs some work. It's obviously actually an alpha, and what they saw at E3 was a very polished experience designed specifically to hype up the game, because that's what you do as a marketing team. On the other hand, you have a game like Due Process, which just shows us this really terrible, broken version of their game, but actually has a lot of awesome mechanics, very similar to what Rainbow is doing. If you don't know what Due Process is, you should go Google that right now and watch any video content you can on it. It was actually a game that was created for, I believe, the 7D FPS competition, which always seems to spawn awesome stuff like Receiver, so on and so forth. So they were actually building that, and they recently just said, like, hey, we got to scratch all this and, you know, sort of rework this, because it's not going to work the way we thought it is. But their core gameplay mechanics were pretty much what Siege has, except indie. And, you know, obviously they're doing some other things there, and I'm really excited for that game's aesthetic approach. They're going for really interesting visual design, sort of almost cyberpunk, you know, 90s thing, and I think that'll just look sick. I'm excited for that as much as I am for Rainbow. Especially it's on a smaller scale, and it's, to me, it's just something I'd rather play on PC for that. You know, Rainbow, to be honest, I'll probably play on a console, because that's, again, where my brother, close friends are. I always have the guys in Praxis as well, but Rainbow's definitely a game I want to play with someone like my brother. We have a connection. It makes things like that just function really well. We can kind of ESP that stuff. Do the wave. Or not. Sometimes you get the wave, sometimes you don't. The point, the wave, whatever people do, just a common gesture. It's the one thing that us motorcyclists share that people who drive cars don't. We say hi to each other. When was the last time you said hi to a passing motorist? Probably never. A little bit spooky. Actually, I'm all for that, you know. I guess we can go on a bit of a tangent here. We've talked about video games. I don't even know if this thing's still recording, but I'm loving this. It's a good time. I like talking. And hopefully the wind doesn't blow it all out, because this is just a fast bit of road here. But regarding that, you know, people are always like, watch out for motorcycles, dude. And a lot of people don't like motorcyclists. They think we look like assholes and so on and so forth. And I do agree. There's a small group, you know, who can make us look like assholes. People on crotch rockets doing wheelies on the thruway in the middle of traffic. No regard for themselves or for the other people who could be harmed when they hurt themselves. I don't agree with that at all. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I ride, and that's never how I will. There's a place and time for goofy antics, and it's not on a public highway or a public road. But the big thing I have with that is, you know, people who drive cars suck at driving just as much sometimes. We all kind of just suck, you know, together. There's no reason to kind of split it apart. I think we all need to become more aware. And I'm a big advocate for this when I'm driving a car. You know, I'm somebody who always says that pretty much every accident is avoidable if you make sure that you give yourself that awareness you need, that situational awareness all the time. People get really distracted. You know, even when I'm talking passively. I'm more focused on, okay, what's in my mirrors, what's on the road. You know, these are things that you need to be concerned with. Not just when you're on a bike, but when you're on a car. And I have to say, if you treat your life like a piece of unvaluable gold and you don't want it to slip away from you, when you ride a bike, you're going to learn a lot. And it's going to carry over into when you ride a car, and it's going to change the way you drive. It's going to make you tailgate less. It's going to make you sit back even further. It's just going to make you have that cushion of safety they talk about in defensive driving classes. That shit's real. They're not just saying it just to be like, hey, defensive driving class situation, you know, awareness, cushion of safety. No, seriously, man. Why would you want to be driving on the thruway at 65 miles an hour with a car directly next to you? I don't do that in video games because people crash into me. You know what? In real life, the possibilities are the same and the consequences are twice as heavy. I guess that's a good way to say that. So it's like, you know, just, I mean, you don't want to mess around with that stuff, you know, just be aware when you're on the road. I don't care if you're on a bike, I don't care if you're in a car, and be aware of everything. Be aware of that lady on the side of the road, the dog that's in you know, all the way in its driveway, not on a leash. Who knows what that dog could do? You know, you think, oh, that dog's obviously trained. Maybe it's not, runs out in the street, you just killed the dog, and possibly yourself if you're on a bike. And a lot of sleepless nights if you do something like that. Same thing goes, small child, kid, you know, a vehicle coming your way, a car coming your way. These are things you need to be paying attention to. You should be reading everyone around you as often as possible. It's impossible, you know, you could say it's impossible to be, you know, to notice every single situation, but there's only so many situations. You're on a road, it's got 2-3 lanes, you know, how many cars are coming, you should be able to focus at least, you know, enough in that sense. Let's go straight. I don't feel like waiting in this turning lane. We're gonna miss out going down my road. It's a nice little road, but we'll go straight. Straight back the way we came, back home, and I'm ready to meet some food because I got right out of work and just hopped on the bike. I was dying, but I'm starving. Did not eat at work today. Long, busy day. That is the brightest sun. Praise the sun. That's all I gotta say, actually. Praise the sun. Bunch of nerds watch this channel. They know exactly what I'm talking about. I love it. Light turn green. Close my visor. Pretty sure that makes a huge difference for the air stream coming through my helmet. So yeah, I'm ready to go and get some food. But as always, praise the sun. Really need to get a tinted visor. Not using a tinted visor right now. This is a clear visor because I do a lot of night riding usually in the summer. And it's actually not a pain. I wear a backpack when I ride all the time because I carry small tools and things in it, and my bike doesn't really have a lot of storage. It's got more than most. It's got more than a Harley, that's for sure, unless it's got bags on it. But yeah, I mean, you know, let's actually turn over here. There used to be Adelphia, which turned into Time Warner, which has turned into Comcast. This is it. This used to be the building area. Oh, let's pull over into the sun. The good thing is when I think about like, hey, I should take off my helmet and do this and that, there's a thing called editing. It's magical. I can do that. Come on, come stand. At this point, I'm convinced the camera just shut off. Let's find out, shall we? Still recording. It's a miracle. All right, let's put this helmet strap back in, which is always a nightmare with gloves. The suffering. Actually, I have new gloves, and they're not as tight as my old ones were. To say they're a bit too big for my fingers. All right, we're gonna leave that for now. Anyways, there she is. Oh, she needs new rubber because the tires are kind of worn. But there's the polished frame, polished swing arm, polished everything. The wheels were kind of polished. They're hideous. They're filthy. They were ruined by salt when the bike was given to me, or some type of dirt. I really don't know. Ride Red stickers. I put those on there. Ride Red is actually their MX division. But I love Ride Red. I grew up riding a Honda, so a Honda dirt bike. O'Neill pants. Also dirt bike stuff. Icon, Motorcycle Superstore, stupid stickers. There's the damage. It's not horrendous. The bike doesn't have sliders, but it's still good from when that happened. Whenever that happened. Also, bent brake, need to fix that. Those are just silly things you should not let go on your bike. But yeah, I love this thing. It's hard to like want to, you know, get rid of it for something else for a supermoto. As much as I love a supermoto, I love an enduro again because I just grew up on dirt bikes. I didn't grow up on crotch rockets, and I never recommend that people buy one just because they're not as fun. They're useless. The reality is, you can't even go on a pile of dirt. They're just a nightmare. Terrible suspension is stiff. Long rides suck. Even if I put bags on this thing, you don't want to ride more than an hour on this thing. Your back's going to be killing you. Your ass is going to be killing you. Your crotch, your legs, your thighs. Everything's going to hurt. Let's put it that way. This was probably the best upgrade I made. The CRG Roll-A-Click. You can just adjust it with that little lever. It's awesome. I love small things like that make clutching and gear changes quicker, especially on this bike. As much as you can do power shifts, it's nice to have a good clutch lever. The stock one is crap, so. Yeah, let's get this back. Let's take the glove off. Take the glove off. Hello, EMT. Is it armistice? If he's watching this, is that you, Armistice? Are you all the way out here? Probably not. I don't think he even lives in the same state as me. He definitely doesn't. So yeah, that's it. A little bit of storage back here, also secondary seat. Riding one up on a crotch rocket is also idiotic. I will say that. Super stiff suspension, and the point of riding a crotch rocket, in my opinion, for me, is leaning corners. Go find some corners, lean, use all the rubber on your big back tire, and do that. That's why you should buy a Supermoto. So a lot of discussions here all at once. And also why you should wear gear and proper boots, if you can see that. That's also going to be another thing, is testing the camera angle. This is super wide view I have it set on. It's like maxed 170, so almost 180. I know I mentioned it was a Ghost. It is the HD Ghost, which is their second top tier model. They came out with a new one just recently. Love their stuff though. The first camera, even though it didn't have an internal mic jack, this one does. It was still a nice camera. It was only 720p, 30 FPS. This does 1080p, 30 FPS, 720p, 60 FPS, 900p. If you want to be all console fanboy, yeah! That was me taking a hit at console, guys. I play a lot of console games, so it's total funny. Anyways, I get all giddy when I'm on my bike. It's a good feeling. But, like, I know that said trespass, no trespassing. If I was on a Supermoto, I'd go back there. Why not? Because there's some woods. Of course I want to ride in the woods. Off-road stuff's just great, and dual-purpose bikes are just badass. Crotch rockets have very little use, and I just don't recommend that people buy them, especially people who are new to riding. You know, I don't like to be cocky, but I've been riding a motorcycle since I was probably 4, I think I started. 4 or 5, really young. My dad got me on a bike. My brother then got on a bike because he was 2 years under me. I taught him. And I've just been riding bikes ever since. So yeah, it does give me, you know, you start young and you're just, that's where the best people come from. Guys who race, people who play sports, you start young, man. You can't start when you're 30. Maybe you can, and it's like an underdog story usually. And crotch rockets, getting on a crotch rocket, getting on a super bike like this, for me, was a learning experience. It's just not, your weight distribution isn't the same. Obviously, the power output is, that's still a lot of power, but it was an older bike, and this is 929. It's not that powerful of a bike by today's standards, but it's still quick, and when you twist the throttle, the front tire can still come off the ground. So you have to know, you have to have discipline to ride something like this. You have to have respect, otherwise people just kill themselves. I'm not saying you can't go to a track day and have a good time, but, you know, wear your gear, be ready to fall, and all those things. Don't do it on an open road. This is like everybody's probably heard this 1,000 times over, so enough of that. The plain and simple fact, though, is I live and will die by my word that I wish I owned a Supermoto. The next bike I purchase will be a Supermoto, and if I have my way, it will be a Husqvarna SM510, which I don't believe they make that model anymore, but I'm more than ready to buy a used one. RevZilla actually did a really good article on SoCal Supermoto School, which is like a $200 school for supermotos, and just talked about why supermotos are, like, you know, the best beginner bikes, why they're just the best bikes all around for having fun, and I completely agree. And you talk to anybody who owns a Supermoto, you watch anybody who vlogs with a Supermoto, you'll recognize the fact that they're having more fun than anybody on a crotch rocket. They really genuinely are. So looks like somebody I know. Silently drive past him. Lights. The bane of all motorists sitting at a light. Alright, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna make some food, and let me know what you guys think of this, if this even goes live. You know, how was the video? How was everything? Would you wish the camera was in a different position? What would you like to see me do? Places you'd like to see me go? Things you'd like to see me talk about? Video games or otherwise? Feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next one. It's just hard not to talk like you're this really cool, like, storytelling guy when you're on a motorcycle. Sorry. Apologies.